Hello everyone and welcome to One Run Academy. Now let's encounter the next 10 questions from number 11 to number 20. Starting with question number 11, which says, a startup team is discussing shifting their business model to DevOps. The team is debating the advantage of the DevOps approach and how this would help the team deliver better software. Which of the following options is considered the most valid reason supporting their decision to adopt DevOps approach? Great, let's see what do we have for the options. So option A, fast and frequent feedback on a code quality for developers. B, low maintenance cost of continuous integration tools. C. Manual testing will no longer be needed due to the automation of all testing. D. The elimination of static analysis, which consumes a lot of time. Now let's consider our options. Option A looks good. It's true that in the DevOps approach, developers get fast and frequent feedback as soon as the code check-ins takes place. So let's keep option A in mind as a good candidate to be the correct answer. Moving to option B, we can clearly see it's not a correct choice. Continuous integration and delivery tools are costly to maintain. In fact, this is one of the disadvantages of the DevOps approach. Regarding option C, while the DevOps approach automates many activities of the software development lifecycle, manual testing is still required, especially in the usability and acceptance testing. So we cannot consider option C to be the correct answer. Lastly, option D is also not correct, as static analysis is a major test activity in the DevOps approach, and it saves time and effort on the long run. Hence, the correct answer to this question is option A. Moving to question number 12, it says, which of the following is the least example showing a tester following one of the best favored techniques in manual testing within an agile project? Our available options to choose from are A. Testers are using the fault attacks approach to find unexpected defects. B. Testers are using a session-based approach to evaluate untested areas. C. Testers are using zero-switch coverage to evaluate system transitions. And D. Testers are conducting tests based on a checklist of specific cases in a system that may fail when executed. So, this question challenged your understanding of the test techniques mostly used in agile development. And while we can all agree that the test techniques used is context dependent, however, experience based techniques are more favored in most agile development because these tests do not require much analysis and design before execution. Applying this understanding to the options, we can see that option A, B, and D are all experience-based test techniques, while option C represents a black box test technique that would require some extent of test analysis and design. It might be used, but not as much as other experience-based test techniques. Therefore, option C is the correct answer here. Moving to question number 13, it says, which test level corresponds to testing carried out by roles outside the development organization at a different developer's test environment and external location? And as usual, a total of 4 options are provided, and they are A. System integration testing, B. System testing, C. Usability testing, and D. Acceptance testing. So the key to the correct answer is to determine what the question is talking about. And by checking the ISTQB glossary, It's beta testing. So let's read the definition of beta testing together. It's a type of acceptance testing performed at an external site to the developer's test environment by roles outside the development organization. From this point, it's pretty much straightforward, and you should recall that beta testing is one of the forms of acceptance testing, and we can verify now that the correct answer is option D. Okay, it's time for question number 14. It says, as a tester, you found a bug in the sign up feature form where users can sign up without entering the obligatory email field. After the developer has fixed the defect, you decided to retest the sign up functionality. Here are your options. Number 1, rerunning the original test cases that identified the defect, where the email field is left blank during the sign-up process. Number 2, write new test cases to confirm that the sign-up cannot be performed without the valid email formats, like the email containing no spaces or invalid characters or emails without the @ symbol. So let's continue with the question. It says that your team is already way past the deadline for project deployment, and your manager is considering reducing the amount of testing in order to deploy the system as soon as possible. In your opinion, what would be the most wise option for your manager? So the options are: A. No testing will be performed to respect the deadline. We trust the developer fixing the bug. B. We will run only option 1 and skip option 2. C. We will only run option 2 and skip option 1. D. Quality is always a priority. We will do both steps regardless of the deadline. Okay, this is a nice one. We must understand two things here. First, we should be able to identify what test type you are dealing with here. Obviously, it's a confirmation testing, which is a form of change-related testing. Confirmation testing is performed after fixing a defect to ensure that a failure introduced by this defect is not occurring anymore. Secondly, we should be aware of the time pressure experienced by our team. We are already missing the deadline. Now, option A seems extremely wrong. It's never a good idea to skip confirmation testing after fixing a defect. Option B is a good candidate for being the correct answer because confirmation testing can be restricted to exercising the steps that originally caused the failure without digging down deeper trying to introduce the same failure but in different ways. If you look at option C, it's the reverse mirror image of option B, and it's not correct, of course. Lastly, option D is not a very good option because we are already past the deadline and we are experiencing severe time pressure. So we will take option B as our answer for question number 14. Now let's take a look at question number 15. In this question, we are provided with a defect report template. This template is going to be used in a static review session within a project's requirement discussion. This defect report contains 4 columns, and they are the bug ID, the identified requirement, the defect description, and the reproduction steps. You are asked to determine the least required column. So this one is a very obvious one. The reproduction steps is unnecessary column. In static testing, there is no defect reproduction simply because no test execution is going to take place. The debugging activity includes only removing the defect. So option D is the correct answer. So we have reached the halfway through this video, and if you're still with us and enjoying the material, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. This would be much appreciated. Okay, so now let's take a look at question number 16, which says, consider the following roles in a review: scribe, author, and moderator. Which of the following options represents an example of a task that does not have a role to fulfill? So the options are A. Fix defects found in a work product. B. Ensure smooth reviews where everyone can speak freely. C. Recording of decisions taken in a review. And D. Decide who will be involved in a review. So again, a pretty easy one here. We are provided with 4 tasks and 3 roles, which means that one task will not have a role to fulfill. So option A, fix defects found in a work product, is covered by the author, who is available. Option B, ensure smooth reviews, is covered by the moderator, also available. Option C, recording of the decisions taken in a review, is covered by the scribe, or so-called recorder, again available. This leaves us with option D, which requires a review leader, who is not available among the roles mentioned in the question. That means the correct answer is option D. Now let's take a look at question number 17. Which of the following examples is considered the least good practice that could happen in a review and can impact the review process negatively? So the options to choose from are A. The manager decides to conduct a review to discuss the acceptance criteria of software under development. B. The review leader invited the system architect, one developer, two testers, and the product owner to the review. C. The scribe recorded the review outcomes and handed these outcomes to the manager. D. The manager thanked the participants and evaluated their performance during the review. So let's encounter these options quickly. Option A looks like a very typical act from the manager. Option B describes the review leader inviting the required stakeholders to the review. Nothing looks out of ordinary here. Option C is describing the exact role of the scribe or recorder. Again, all looks good here. While option D describes a weird and abnormal behavior from the manager. Evaluating the people who participated in the review is not a good practice. Generally, reviews are conducted to evaluate and discuss the quality of the work product and not the participants. So let's move to question number 18. A review is being held to discuss the test cases of a new feature in a software under development. The participants are the tester, the developer, the business analyst, and the product owner. The tester discusses the test cases with other participants, explains the test cases to them, and tries to get idea on how to further improve these test cases. Which kind of reviews is mostly represented in this context? So let's take a look at the options, which are A. Informal review, B. Technical review, C. Walkthrough, and option D is inspection. So the author, who is in this case the tester, is leading the review. He's educating the participants while generating new ideas. This is looking like a walkthrough. Hence, the correct answer is option C. So that was a quick one. So let's take a look at question number 19, which challenged you to pick the option representing a difference between white and black box test techniques. So the options are A. Experience-based testing is complementary to white box testing, but not black box testing. B. Any change in code implementation will affect white box test cases. However, this is not always the case in black box testing. C. White box testing is known as specification-based testing, while black box testing is known as structure-based testing. D. White box tests are independent of the test object's internal structure, while in black box, the internal structure will affect how test cases are designed. Now, let's discuss these options separately. Option A seems not correct. This is because experience-based testing is considered a complementary technique to both white and black box testing. Option B states that code changes will affect white box test cases. This is correct, as white box testing is based on the test object's internal structure. This is not necessarily the case with black box testing, because sometimes the implementation changes, but the same functionality is reserved. So option B is the correct answer. However, let's proceed and check out the other options. Option C is totally an incorrect statement. It's white box testing that is known as structure-based testing, while black box testing is known as specification-based testing. Option D is the opposite of option B, and while option B is correct, that makes option D totally incorrect. And finally, we have reached the last question through this video, which is question number 20, which says, a social media platform pays the content creators $1,000 for the first 1 million video views, then $750 for every subsequent million views. You are eligible for payment if you hit million views and there is no cap or limit on earnings. Given the following set of data, -1, 100,000, 2,000,000 and 200,000. If we want to test the payment system on this platform, how much equivalence partitioning coverage does this data set provide? So the options are 50%, 66%, which is 2/3, 75%, and 100%. So, from my experience, the best way to answer the equivalence partitioning questions is by quickly sketching whatever information provided. Looking at the sketch, we can confirm that we have 4 partitions, 1 invalid containing all negative values, and 3 valid partitions. So in detail, these partitions are: number 1, again the below 0, which is the invalid partition; number 2, the partition that contains less than 1 million views, which pays nothing; number 3, or the third partition I mean, is the partition that contains 1 million views up to 1,999,999, which will pay $1,000; and finally the fourth partition that contains 2 million views and up, which will pay $750. So any value above 2 million is considered within the same partition, whether 4 million or 10 million, because all of them have the same outcome, which is $750. So by analyzing the given data set, we can find that the first invalid partition is covered by -1, the first valid partition covered by 100,000, the second valid partition, which is not covered, and the third valid partition is covered by 2,200,000. So the coverage is 3/4, which equals 75%. Hence, the correct answer is option C. So we have reached the end of this video. As always, comment section is open for discussions. In the next one, we will discuss the subsequent 10 questions from question number 21 to question number 30. And of course, you can get to our additional 6 exams on Udemy by following the links in the description. So until then, take care and I'll see you on the next one.